Now, honestly, growing up, I would say that, for lots of people, Pinocchio is definitely one of those cartoons that you watch and you just laugh, get so nostalgic. And now, one of the last living animators from the classic era of Disney, immensely classic era, has passed away at the age of 105. Don Lusk's dearest friend, Navar Patois Asner, passed along the news on her Facebook page. Lusk joined the Walt Disney Company at the age of 20 and became one of the most notable animators of the classic era. He is best known for his works in Pinocchio, The Wonderful Alice in Wonderland, and The Lady and the Tramp. He has contributed a lot to the industry and will be remembered through his creations. Still love Pinocchio. Well, Kanye West is still, oh my gosh, he can just hold such a beef. So he's still upset over Drake following Kim Kardashian on social media. Now, the rapper, who is currently on a family vacation with his wife and their 3 kids in Aspen, took to Twitter yesterday to address his feud with Drake once again. So the now mostly deleted series of tweets were highlighted by West demanding an apology from the OVO mogul. He then went on to say that tweeting is legal and also therapeutic before declaring his love for everyone. Oh my gosh. Well, Drake has been quiet throughout the latest tweeting spree and still hasn't responded to Kanye. For good reason. Well, now let's talk about Pete Davidson. He is starting off the new year with some laughs, and that is so exciting. So the comedian did a stand-up comedy show in Boston on Monday night and poked fun at his relationship history, as well as some fellow comedians, including Louis C.K., the very talked about comedian right now for his very disrespectful comments. So Ariana Grande was also a hot topic during the show, as Pete Davidson spoke for a bit about Grande's hit song, Thank You Next, that addressed all of her exes. Now, before Davidson went on, fellow comedians Jordan Rock, Dave Cyrus, and Joey Gay performed their own sets. It's definitely amazing to see him, getting back in the comedy spirit. Well, now let's talk about another comedian and actress, Tiffany Haddish. So she made quite the controversial statement on Instagram over the weekend on the subject of Black Lives Matter and, the ethical argument surrounding the wearing of animal fur. Now, following a set at the famed Comedy Store in West Hollywood on Friday night, the night school and, of course, Girls Trip actress posted a video to Instagram about how a fan, who came up to say hello to her, ended up giving her a fur jacket. Now, apparently, the gift wasn't planned, as Haddish explained that the fan gushed on how much she loves her. So she replied that if she really loved her, she would give her the jacket, and, she did. Now, things got really complicated as the, outspoken comedian went on to reveal that she now planned to wear fur every day in protest of police killing Black people. Since they're trying to stop them from killing animals, they better stop them from killing Black people as well. Okay, now away from that, Ricky Martin is starting the new year with a bundle of joy. The Grammy-nominated singer announced the arrival of his daughter with an Instagram post showing off the infant's tiny hands. Well, Martin says the girl is named Lucia, and Martin's post didn't include any additional details other than that the baby girl is healthy. He added that his family, Juan Yosef, and 10-year-old twin sons have fallen in love with the baby girl already. And let's say this, 2018 was indeed a very, very interesting year. It had scandals, triumphs, breakups, and a lot of weddings. And it's safe to say that nothing is happening if it's not happening on social media. Well, earlier, I had a chat with our correspondent, Judita De Silva, who gave us a scoop on the biggest stories that had social media buzzing in 2018. I began by asking her about the celebrities that passed away and the reaction of fans on social media to these deaths. Take a look.
Particularly with this year, the kinds of ways that we lost the people in show business was so different. When you think of people like Mac Miller or XXXTentacion, it was one was an overdose, it was an attack, and then you also have Aretha Franklin, you have Stan Lee, you have the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants who passed away because of ALS. There were such a different reasons that the celebrities passed away, or even Kim Porter, who was P. Diddy's ex-partner, who died unexpectedly. So social media was always this outlet for an immediate purge of emotion and to send condolences. And so it's weird because we're in an era of millennials and using social media. It has its negatives, like you said, but it also has its positives. People think they're immediately connected to celebrities because there's no filter between them, no PR or marketing people between them. So when they lost people, they felt that they could share their genuine feelings as immediately as they felt them.
Now, let's also talk about another situation that really took center stage in 2018, and that was, you know, the fact that some of these celebrities died as a result of either an overdose or suicide or situations like that. And it really got celebrities talking about the reality of their relationship with their fans. Like, if we say we love you so much and then you still feel the need to take your life, then what kind of love is that? So how do you think that has really affected a lot of people in 2018 and, of course, moving forward to subsequent years?
I think the biggest thing that has happened in 2018 is the conversation on mental health. Because when you look at somebody like Mac Miller, who actually succumbed to an overdose, and then by comparison, Demi Lovato, who managed to survive hers, these are very young, famous, rich, popular people who are struggling with the ability to be satisfied with themselves, and so they turn to substances. And then we know that this is a year where, particularly the American government is battling the opioid crisis. So the landscape of young people today is very different. They're very troubled, and they're turning to things that they wouldn't normally have before. And it's part of that social media culture. When you feel you measure yourself by popularity, by likes, by attention, when you find that moment where you're on your own and you're alone, it's very difficult to cope with. So you want to take yourself out of yourself. But the biggest result of that was that conversation on mental health. So depression, anxiety, loneliness, that kind of stuff. So I think in the positive that came out of it is that people are starting to think twice about the darker sides of being celebrities.
Well, I think one person I will definitely miss the most is the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. But anyways, let's not get the moment down and I start literally pouring out tears from my eyes. Let's talk about another situation that got every single person buzzing, and that was the amount of breakups and, of course, makeups that happened in this year. So now we know we had it all spreading all over social media. I mean, when you're really famous, can you really expect anything else?
I don't think so, because the key to this is that back in the day, when things happened, celebrities had their people, and their people had control on the speed with which stories came out. So you could get out in front of a scandal, you could put your spin on it. Social media is so immediate. Everybody has a camera phone. So when they'd see a couple arguing in a coffee shop, somebody would have it on video, then TMZ would find it, then it would end up on social media. So before you could even come to terms with the fact that you'd broken up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your engagement fell apart, the whole world was already talking about it. So we saw that with people like Paris Hilton, we saw it with Ariana Grande, we saw it with Jennifer Aniston's marriage ended. So many massive couples don't get the opportunity to actually go through the process of the breakup because social media is there and the exposure is so immediate.
It's really crazy. But how do you think, you know, because we also saw, you know, Cardi B and Offset getting out of their relationship, and, you know, Offset posted something really important. He said, yo won, like social media won. So how do you feel like social media really influences people's relationships and, you know, how fast it grows or how quick it crashes?
Yeah, absolutely, because like you said, the fans feel a connection and sort of ownership of the fame of their celebrities because, like I say, people measure their fame by how many likes they have and how many followers they have. So if I'm going to follow you, I have some ownership on what you do, and you should always do stuff to entertain me. So your relationship isn't part of my property. Your life, your children, your family is my property, because that's the currency people are dealing in now. But it wasn't all breakups. Like we saw things with Harry and Meghan's wedding, Prince Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank, and then Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas, who really used social media to publicize their wedding. They're two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's also talk about backlash. You see, that's the one thing we love at Arise 360. If you can deliver a good backlash, you're definitely on our team. So the backlash was major this year, either for old tweets or badly worded tweets. So, I mean, please, what a year of online drama this year, wasn't it?
Absolutely, because when you think about it, this backlash is not a small thing. It's one thing to put out a tweet and then say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. We saw careers damaged by tweets from ages ago, years ago, when you think of Kevin Hart, when you think of James Gunn. And then look at someone like Roseanne Barr. A racist tweet derailed her entire career. Careers end because of this stuff. Jobs are lost because of this stuff. And somebody as massive as Kanye West, who you felt his star couldn't shine as bright as it was, he now had a season where he released his Yeezy latest season, and it didn't sell that well because based on the stuff he'd tweeted about the 13th Amendment, which is what abolished slavery, posting pictures of himself wearing the MAGA hat, Black America just had enough because so many of his antics had been forgiven. He went one step too far. And with social media, once it's out there, it will never disappear. You've got receipts, as they say, of what your bad behavior.
Okay, but then again, you know, do you feel maybe we are actually enabling social media in the sense that we're letting it literally control our lives? Because then again, some of these situations happen to be things that people had said about 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, 9 years ago, you know, a long time ago. But then for some reason, we let social media really take control of a person's life, you know. So do you think we're literally just getting to a point where social media is going to become president of the world?
I'm telling you, we're at the point where, so you're right, social media is going to have so much control over celebrity careers, it will reach critical mass and then it will implode. And we're already seeing that starting to happen because when you think about the Kevin Hart situation, it was a tweet from 2009. It was a homophobic tweet. He'd apologized for it. But then now that he's up to present the Oscars, it comes up again saying, apologize again. I mean, how many times does he need to apologize? But now he's quit the job. They can't find a replacement. And why can't they find a replacement? Celebrities are saying is, we can't fight social media because some stupid thing I said 20 years ago, I can't remember, or 10 years ago, will come and derail my career, or the kind of critique, the kind of backlash, the kind of bile you can get on social media is too hard for one person to take. So nobody wants the job. That's the power of social media. You now have an institution like the Academy, can't find a host. So it's going to have to get to a point where someone's going to say social media has gotten too powerful.
Absolutely. I mean, social media, please be good to me, you know, in 2019. But anyways, the Me Too movement, now that is something that, you know, found glorious, you know, I got to say it, glorious fame due to the Harvey Weinstein situation.
Yeah.
However, in 2018, it went like from 10 to like 1,000 real quick. So please tell us about that and the situations that led to that.
Yeah, like throughout the year, like you kept tracking the stories because it began last year with Alyssa Milano going #MeToo based on the Harvey Weinstein scandal. And then people always thought it was going to be Hollywood. But over the course of this year, it moved to the UK, it moved to Europe, but then it really caught fire in Bollywood. And Bollywood was a very unique one because when you think about the nature of Bollywood movies, it's a patriarchal community, it's a patriarchal industry that's very male-driven. So if there's one place where you are positive women would have been discriminated against and experienced harassment, it's in Bollywood. But the amazing thing is with the power of social media, they felt they could speak up. And when one would speak up, a wave followed. And eventually it spread to a place that we never thought would ever give in to it, and that's the Far East. Japanese actresses, Japanese women in the workplace were starting to speak up. So this Me Too thing is really global, and we're just waiting to see that might it move to Africa come next year.
You see, now that's the big question. But looking at Africa and how we're, first of all, very religious, very tribalistic, you know, these are features that really hold us from accepting certain beliefs. So
do you think maybe it might just be a harder nut to crack for it to really get into a Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but Africa at large, where you have cultures that tell you things like, oh, it's okay for me to, you know, correct my wife in a way that benefits me?
Absolutely, because first of all, what people have to consider is that Africa is the biggest continent in the world, and it's not a homogeneous continent. And even looking at Nigeria to make it smaller so we can concentrate it, Nigeria is not a homogeneous society, different tribes, different faiths, different religions, different perspectives. But the key is this: in somewhere like Nollywood in Nigeria, women really dominate because they are behind the camera, they're in front of the camera, they're producing, they're millionaires, they're billionaires. So the power of women is well established, which is ironic because in a developing country, women have a foot forward as opposed to in Hollywood, which is an advanced country where women are on the back foot. So that's the irony of that. Exactly, but then also you think about what you said about traditionalism. Why that is an issue is that we're very, very similar to Indian culture, where women know women's place, men know men's place. If it could catch fire in Bollywood, it could easily catch fire in Africa. But I don't think it would be the same way because African women are naturally very assertive. We're not as subservient as Indian culture teaches their women to be. But then again, that is certain aspects, certain tribes. There are other tribes that are more like Bollywood women. So you just have to wait and see how it goes. Is the industry in Africa open enough where the need for that isn't so much because there are women in power who don't let these kinds of discriminatory acts happen?
Absolutely. Well, it is time for another quick break, but don't go away because coming up, I'll have all of today's arts and culture news. So keep it right here on Arise 360 and we will be back in just a moment.